So Priscilla, could you tell me about the your curiosity about the neighborhood and your expanding knowledge about where you were living?
Yes. Because I had to walk to and from school, it was about a mile stretch. So there was a lot of new shops that would open up. There was a lot of old shops that were already there. But one day I was a young teen, and not older teen actually, a young adult, and I was about 18 years old. I already had a baby. I had my daughter with me in the carrier, and I was really hungry, and I smelled something so good coming from this unassuming building, this unassuming facade. It was a red door, I won't forget, and it was like a frosted yellow window that was on the red door. And I said, well, I see some people going in and out, and that's where that smell's coming from. I'm going to check to see if I can go in. And it said something cafe. I didn't remember the name, but I walked in that door and they kind of, I think they kind of looked at me like, are you okay? I was like, oh, want something to eat? Is this a restaurant? They said, yeah. So have a seat. So I sat down, and I sat down. It wasn't fancy. It was just like, nice there was little tables and chairs, and they gave me a menu, and the menu was in Vietnamese. So thankfully they had pictures next to them, and but one of the waitresses came up to me, and she had described what the foods were and what they had, and I said, I'll take that, I'll take the pho, and she said, okay. I think it was chicken. I think it was chicken pho. And she brought over this soup, and the smell was like so good because it was like with the fresh cilantro and the fresh, oh my goodness, the ingredients was just so tasty. And I ate that up, and I was just like, wow, this is like, this has a very familiar taste because there are some ingredients that is used in Puerto Rican food with the cilantro and things of that nature that is used in what they have in their food. So that was my first experience with pho, and I've had a love affair ever since. But it was just this. It was funny because you would expect to go downtown or to maybe even South Philly, but right there, right in Logan. I don't know if it's still there. It was right on Broad Street. It was right on Broad Street, and yeah, and I would actually bring friends there too. I brought friends there, so it was very nice.
At what point did you see that your difference in who you are or who you were in relation to everybody else in the neighborhood began to change?
Interesting. I think, and that really happened mostly in school because things started changing in the neighborhoods. You weren't as social. I was a latchkey kid, so it didn't afford, the environment didn't afford for you to be as social as you once were when things were, I guess, considered safer. So a lot of our socialization evolved around school. So in school, hanging out with friends and talking to folks and things, because we had, of course, a lot of kids in my class with different ethnicities, and it was around 7th grade. It was around when you're approaching pubescence, right? And I think it was the first day back, or one of the first days back, and I was just hanging out with one. I was trying to actually approach one of my friends from another culture, And I asked them, hey, you know, how's it going? How's your summer? And she like had this like very dour face. I said, what's going on? Hey, let's hang out, you know. And she said, I can't really hang out with you anymore. It's like, well, why? What's going on? And she said, her parents. So her parents said that, she couldn't hang out with me anymore. So, okay. And I knew what she meant. And she felt very bad about it, but she was a good daughter. And she followed what her parents said. And, I guess hanging out with Afro Boricua wasn't like considered going upward, in the social ladder. So, I felt that it was. I realized that I realized a difference, but it was an imposed difference because I didn't see her as any different as who she was last school year, and I wasn't any different. I mean, I was a little taller, a little older. She was a little taller, a little older, have different hairstyles, whatever, but it was still who we were. But this imposed difference by society, by adults, saying, you can't hang out with that person because they're African American, or you can't hang out with that person because they're Puerto Rican. They're considered a lower, So that really stunk. Yeah.
Is there anything you miss about Logan now that you're not there that you wish there were, or wish you could recapture?
The house. The houses were so wonderful. I mean, it's just, I've moved pretty much everywhere in the city at this point. I've lived in the Northeast, I lived in South Philly, I lived in, West Philly now, and it's something about those houses and the period in time when they were built. They were built in the early 1900s, so you still had that, they weren't regal, but you still had that pride and craftsmanship. So you had the nice stained glass window doors, it was like this beautiful, like with the lead strip and this like, and then you had the molding, and some houses had the French doors, separating the dining room and the living room. My girlfriend's house had that. And then you had the inlays, the wood inlays in the wood floor. So you had all these like, and then when the sun hit it with all these like elements, it was just, I don't know, because maybe I was a kid, but it was just really beautiful the way the sun played on the stained glass, window and on the wall, and then you can smell the roses outside from the backyard. My neighbor had these huge bush roses, huge, like 6 feet tall, and the roses themselves were almost like the size of your hand, gorgeous. And then there was this pine tree that just went all the way to the clouds. It's a huge old pine tree, and when it rained, you could smell the pine needles, and on a nice warm day, it was like I said, it was very welcoming. It was almost like, even though it was Logan, even though it was like in Philadelphia, it was still it just felt like sometimes you could feel like you were somewhere else, even though you were in a row home. It's like, at that, for me anyway, but just to find a house that's similar, like with that kind of craftsmanship, with that, the nice backyard, nice sized backyard with the alleyway, and then you had other folks and they had a nice backyard in the back, and they were growing things, and people were growing fruits and vegetables. Some people paved their backyards and had a pool, and some people, but it was, everybody had their own flavor. It was very eclectic, So I miss that. I miss that, also that sense of community too, So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.